I toyed with the idea of calling my message today the Gift of Hostility. Because in the presence of hostility, there is a great opportunity for God's kingdom to shine. I mean, that is the very message of the cross itself. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But you know, when they display diamonds, what do they put them out on? A black cloth. And what I want to do today is I want to highlight the contrasts. Contrasting ways and approaches and ways of life. Being of this different spirit. But first, I want to ask you, how did Daniel and his friends live in such a toxic system and not be infected by it? How were they in the system but not of the system? What was the source of the different spirit that they walked in and exuded? I would say to you, I find it really interesting that the writer of Daniel puts at the front end of the book a story where they resolved to not eat what was offered to them. I suggest to you that your spiritual and intellectual diet will determine the spirit that you walk in, that you exude from your life. And before you make this about should or shouldn't get vaccinated, I would suggest to you that behind this resolve to not eat the food was the fear of the Lord. Was this understanding of the Scriptures. Daniel and his friends were saturated in the Scriptures most likely. And they knew that God called his people to eat a particular way and less concerned about their physical appearance or whatever it might be. It was out of honor to God. It was about obeying what God had spoken and what God had said. They were people of the Scriptures. Remember, Jesus warns his disciples, beware the leaven of the Pharisees and of Herod. And what do his disciples say in response? If you remember the story, they're like, he must be talking about this because we didn't bring any bread. And Jesus is like, you guys still don't get it. And what I would say to you is the spirit of the age offers us a specific diet. And the Spirit of God offers us an alternative, superior diet. And what comes out of you is a good idea, good indicator, I should say, of what you've been feeding on. Galatians 5 talks about the fruit of the flesh and the fruit of the Spirit. Go read it. And ask yourself, as you see what's coming out of your life, does it line up with this or that? Is it outbursts of anger, dissension, factions? Or is it love and joy and peace and so on? And as Daniel and his friends ate accordingly, they had a different spirit. They appeared before the king healthier and wiser than the rest. So if today you start to realize maybe there's some bad fruit coming out of your life, don't worry. When you go to the doctor and you find out maybe you're sick from what it is you've been eating, it's not too late to change. You could change your diet. You can start feeding on something else. And so when God starts to highlight in your heart and in your life some fruit that's not looking much like Him, He doesn't show you that just so that you can grovel and feel horrible about yourself. He says, come here. I've got better food for you. Food maybe you knew not of. So here are the contrasts I want us to look at. Less protest, more prayer. Less slander, more service. Less fear of man or of bodily harm, more fear of God. Less madness, more mercy. We can maybe list off more, but you know I like alliteration. And